Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Perpetual Chess. We will get you to a fun interview with WFM Maaike Keetman momentarily. I just had two addendums for this interview. Number one, you will hear Maaike mention in the interview that the Chessable Create Your Own Course contest launches in August. It's actually starting September 1, might be a couple days or already started from when you hear this, depending on when you listen, but it sounds like a lot of fun. Maaike actually inspired me to possibly finally create my own Chessable course, although I won't be entering the contest, but it is, she did give me some ideas of stuff to work on. The number two thing I wanted to mention is thanks to everyone who's been tuning in for the FIDE World Cup coverage. As I record this on Thursday, the tournament ended today. Congratulations to Magnus Carlsen and GM Alexandra Goryachkina. Obviously, the winners are not surprising, but there were a lot of surprises along the way. Did just want to let you all know I'm not going to be doing like a comprehensive recap of the tournament. Vieko and I covered most of what had transpired, but I do hope to interview someone who made the trip to Baku in the coming weeks. So we will eventually take one more look back at that historic and always entertaining tournament. So without further ado, let's get you to the interview with WFM Maaike Keetman. Here it is. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Perpetual Chess. We are joined this week by the VP of Content at Chessable, a Chessable author of The Fierce Nimzo Indian and its companion course, The Fierce Vienna, Catalan, and Sideline, so it gives you a solid black repertoire against D4 openings. Our guest is a WFM and Dutch Chess Olimpian who won shared second place in the European Championship for Girls Under 16 in 2015, still plays actively, in fact, is joining us fresh off of a tournament, which we will discuss shortly. But first, let's welcome Maaike Keetman to the show. Welcome, Maaike.
Thanks. I'm so excited to be here and to speak with you. And you pronounce my name pretty well, so it's a good start.
Thank you. Yeah, we were practicing before I introduced her. Yeah, I feel really good about the first name and decent about the last name.
It was great.
Okay. But Maaike, so when someone has recently played a tournament, you know, we have so many tournament players listening, myself included. I like to hear reflections on it. And I know that my recent episode spotlighting different players who had played in Las Vegas was pretty popular. And you played in a big European Open tournament that's on my radar, among many others. I don't know when I'll make it to Europe with my kids at home, but at some point I would love to. So you played the Czech Open in Pardubice, a festival with lots of events. Now, I know you didn't get to play the whole thing, but I thought maybe you could, reflect on your performance, but also maybe just kind of give us the landscape of a big Open tournament like that in the Czech Republic.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's you're very correct. It's a very big Open with many events. I think there's 4 groups, and the A group, which I played in, had 300 participants. So that's just in one group already 300 people. But every day they also had some blitz tournaments, some team events. They had a 2-day rapid event before the tournaments. It's really a big celebration of chess with players from all over the world. So if you're coming to Europe, I can definitely recommend it. Pardubice is pretty cheap compared to some other places. So if you're a chess player on a budget, this is your destination. As you mentioned, I didn't manage to finish the event. Sadly, I got sick. During round 4 or 5, I managed to play 6 more rounds, but my 6th game was so awful that I decided it wasn't worth playing on. I was too sick. I barely got out of bed during the last days. So I only played 6 rounds, but I really enjoyed playing. I drew a 2400 player in the first round, so that's always a nice brag. He kind of gave me a move repetition early on, so I can't say I brilliantly defended an endgame and deserved it that well. I got away kind of easily, but it's still a nice brag. And I played some fun wins, so yeah, it was really fun to play.
Excellent. Yeah, and we should say you've got a peak FIDE rating of about 2250, so a good result.
Yes.
Good result for you, but not off the charts. I know you you had a nice win against Danny Gormley a few years back, and
oh wow, you remember that? Yeah, that's definitely I think the highest rated player I ever beat. Not the only GM, but I think the highest rated one. But I like that you say my peak rating, because my current rating is not anywhere near that anymore, I'm afraid. Just like all of us, I aspire to improve and become better, but in reality, I'm very far from my peak. So I have some work to do to become a a better player again, I think.
Yeah, well, I can certainly relate to that, and I'd love to pick your brain about chess improvement in a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
But let's get a few more details about this tournament. So you mentioned for the budget conscious, it might be a decent choice. I was looking at their website, and the pricing was in Czech. I think they're called kroners.
Oh yeah.
So I have no idea how much it costs. So could you translate to me, like, if we were to go to a tournament like this, roughly how much are you expecting to spend on entry and hotel?
Oh, wow. So the entry fee depended on your rating, and maybe it's cheaper in the lower groups, but I would say hotel is maybe 60 euros a night. And if you share it with someone else, it's still about 60. So then it's only 30 euros per person. So not that pricey. And like food is very cheap. You can eat for 8 euros every day. Alcohol is very cheap. I'm not sure if I should be promoting that, but alcohol is cheaper than soda. Like it's insane. So if that's your thing, if you want to drink beer, then definitely go there. But they also have normal drinks if you are very serious about chess, of course.
Okay, yeah. And the town itself, about 100,000 people,
Yeah.
it looks like. Cute little sort of quintessential Czech town from what I could see. Now, I know it's a pretty small country, so I'm guessing it's not too far from Prague.
No, it's an hour by train, so you can fly to Prague and take a direct train. It was really not so difficult to get there. Surprisingly easy. I've had way worse trips.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. And I know that your significant other, friend of the pod, candidate master Vyacheslav Němec, also played in the tournament.
Yes.
And I saw on Twitter he was a little frustrated about the different rating. Basically, they advertised a certain rating threshold for the tournament, but then lower rated players were let in. Did you share his frustration?
Yeah, it is a bit strange that they would market it otherwise. I wouldn't have an issue if they would market it, oh, it's for this rating range, and then it's not an issue. But they claim it's something, and then it's something else. That's a bit strange because they charge more money if you're lower rated. So it comes off a bit like, oh, come here, lower rated players, because we can charge your money. So that is a bit strange, but yeah, we knew it beforehand. So I decided not to get too annoyed with it because I don't think it's very helpful. But, sometimes you can shake off the feeling. If you keep losing to lower rated players, everything annoys you more, I think, during an event.
Yeah.
If it goes well, everything is fine. Like there could be someone screaming outside of the playing hall every day. Doesn't matter. But if you're not doing well, then every little detail is suddenly the worst thing ever.
Truer words have never been spoken, Maaike. And let me ask you, how many rounds per day is the tournament typically?
So it's only one round a day, every day at 3:00. Even the last round doesn't start earlier. So if you're not a morning person, and I'm definitely not, then this is great because last year I wanted to play a tournament around Christmas in Krakow in Poland. And one day the round was at 8:30 in the morning. And then I thought to myself, no, I'm not going.
Yeah. Wow. That sounds very civilized. And do you get the pairings? How far in advance do you get the pairings? Are you able to prep for opponents?
Yeah, you can prepare quite well. I'd say you get them whenever the game is finished. So everyone is done. Then they make a pairing. So it would be around 9 in the evening. So you could go for dinner. You don't even have to prepare in the evening. You can get breakfast in the morning and then prepare for an hour or two. You have all the time in the world.
That's almost too much prep time.
Yeah, towards the end, we were saying maybe the event is almost too long. Maybe a double round, 1 or 2 somewhere where you do play in the morning wouldn't be so bad. Then you can go home earlier and enjoy a day off at home. But yeah.
Yeah, and I know you said that you got sick, but you also said this was your second time playing. Do you, when you have that much time, do you try to do anything touristy or focus on the chess?
The town is not that big, as you said, so the limit for touristy thing, you basically see everything quite fast, but we try to go out for dinner, for breakfast, lunch, just really enjoy and not only be inside and look at your computer or the chessboard all day. That can get boring. So usually we try to hang out with friends, grab a drink in the evening, play a game, do anything except chess, basically. There has to be time for some fun, I think. at a tournament.
It sounds lovely. Well, thank you for sharing, Maaike. So our Perpetual Chess is about 50% American listeners, and then 10% Great Britain, and then people all over the world. But I have obviously power rankings that I'm keeping in my head of like European tournaments I want to play in. And I think this one is still slotted beneath Sunway Sitges.
Yes.
But
I want to go there too. I haven't been yet. I have played in Barcelona, but not in Sitges. But I've heard great things about it.
Yeah, and then there's Reykjavik Open, which would be first, except I've been there. So
you've been. I'm so jealous. Yeah. I want to go, but I need to save some money, I think. I heard Iceland is not the easiest place in the world, but I think it's beautiful.
Beer is not cheaper than soda, and the rooms are not 30 euros.
No, I don't think so. But the country must be amazing. And I heard the event is also very well organized, right? So I would love to go.
Yeah, likewise. And Maaike, another regular competitive feature of Europe of some fascination to me, at least here in the US, is the various leagues that as a accomplished titled player you get to play in. Could you tell us a bit about which leagues you play in and how they're structured?
Yeah, of course. I live in the Netherlands, so I play Dutch League, and I'm proud to say my team promoted to the highest level this year. So we'll be competing against the very best team of the country, even though we might be a bit of an underdog on that level. So basically there's 9 rounds, and they are on 9 Saturdays spread out through the season. And the season lasts from September to May. So basically 1 or 2 Saturdays a month, you play either at your club at home or against your opponent's club, which could be, 2 or 3 hours away. Luckily, the Netherlands isn't a very big country, so it's kind of doable to organize something like that. I can imagine that in America, if you have to play against someone from another state, that could take up too much time traveling. So that's the bright side of being a small country, I think. I also play in the 4NCL, that's the British Chess League. And there they also have the distance issue. So they play 2 games per weekend in a central location. So all the teams play in the same location, which is more fun because if you have friends in other teams, you can see them and, everyone is together so you can make some friends. And there's a bit more socializing because when we play in Dutch League, we basically go together to dinner with your own team and then you go home and enjoy a chill Sunday.
Right. That's interesting. So within each league, you're only playing teams from within that country? Dutch League plays other Dutch teams? Okay.
Yes, although there are always some foreigners, of course, especially if your team is from a club near the border. For example, there is one team near Germany and half of their team is German players instead of Dutch players, which is fine, of course. Or in Dutch League, there's not so many paid grandmaster foreigners. I think our league is not big or popular enough. But of course, in Bundesliga in Germany, you have a lot of strong grandmasters from all over the world who come. I think some of the top 10 players go there sometimes even.
Yeah, some of those teams are totally stacked. But I think the more accessible ones for a wider range of players are probably of more interest to the listeners, at least until we all become super GMs. So do you prefer the league format? Like how do you like playing with a team and all the travel involved for one game as a trade-off as compared to something like we were discussing in the Czech Open?
This is really interesting. Sometimes it can kind of suck because I have had it happen to me that I won in an hour and I was like, I traveled 3 hours here. Right. I won in an hour. Now I'm waiting for everyone else to be done. Maybe your team will still lose, which is also a bit depressing. And then you get home at like 10 in the evening and then you think, why am I doing this to myself? But it is quite fun. You always have someone to talk to because you are with a team. And if you like your teammates, it can be a lot of fun. If you don't like them, maybe you should find another club. But there is a charm to it. Also that you're not playing for yourself. Maybe you have to adjust your playing style a bit. Maybe play all out for a win. Or maybe you have to play more solidly and make sure you don't lose. There's some extra layer to it, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I always sort of romanticize that aspect, the team aspect, the camaraderie, but you do make a good point about just the logistics. And as you say, if it were to become, I mean, obviously there are leagues in the US, but nothing
Hmm.
as venerated and with a stronger tradition as the ones in Europe. I mean, and there is stuff like Peter Giannatos is helping start the
Oh, yeah.
corporate chess league online,
That's
but
cool.
and Alyssa Melakina is doing like a corporate one in New York City. So there's stuff, but the size of the country does present a dilemma for sure.
Yeah, of course. Maybe you can do, well, many cities in the US are bigger than the whole Netherlands or more inhabitants. So maybe you can have just a league for the city or something.
Yeah,
But
maybe at least in like the chess hotbeds,
yeah.
like New York. And we might come back to this later, but so
Hmm.
you mentioned your ratings off its peak. I think a lot of people are experiencing that, myself included. But so what would you say is going on with your game right now, Maaike?
Oh boy. Oh God, now I feel bad. I have to admit, when I was at my peak, I had a year of university, so I was focused more on chess. I did work part-time, but I had a lot of time and energy to devote to chess. And right now, I am spending less time on studying and playing, and clearly, it is taking its toll. I have to admit that right now I'm not training that much at all, but I decided to have fun playing and at least enjoy it, because I would get kind of upset if it goes badly, because you want to do well and you want to get back to your best. So at least now I decided, okay, I know I haven't trained so much, so maybe don't expect to be the very best, but at least enjoy it. And that has been working for me. So if you're in a bit of a slump, maybe you can switch your mindset for a little bit and then later get back to training, and maybe it will go better again. But I have to
Yeah.
admit, I didn't get back to the training and getting better part yet, so I cannot promise it will work. But it's not so bad to just enjoy chess and forget about improving for a little bit. Not forever, maybe, but
Yeah.
um,
No,
maybe
that's
just for once, enjoy.
it's a great point, and it's an admirable attitude. And I obviously, people who listen regularly have heard me say, I mean, I deal with similar stuff, and
Mm,
I think it's important that what you're doing is you're still playing, you're still
yes.
competing, because that in itself is practice. So it's easy, and again, speaking from experience, to get in sort of like a mental doom spiral where you feel like you're in a slump, so then you don't
Yeah.
play, and then you're never going to get out of it by doing that. So I forced myself to, there was like a tournament 15 minutes from my house, and I forced
Mm.
myself to play last
Oh,
weekend.
nice.
It was rusty, but results were actually decent. And now I feel
Ah,
better going forward
exactly.
than if I just like sat and brooded as
Yeah,
one.
you might become scared, like, oh no, what if it goes badly again? And then
Right.
maybe it will go badly because you're overthinking things. And
Yeah. But
yeah,
even if it
there's
does,
some risk.
if you had a negative mindset going in, and you could,
Yeah.
the worst that happens is you maintain your negative mindset. Whereas
Yes.
whereas if it goes well, you can at least turn it around.
It's
But
true.
Maaike, you alluded to being busy, and of course, the reason you're
Yeah.
busy is your full time job at Chessable. So,
Yeah.
part of the reason we are doing this interview when we are, it's been in the works for a while, is we wanted to announce or help roll out the Create Your Own Course contest. But briefly, before we do that, could you describe the nature of your work? I know you've done different roles at Chessable over the years, but what sort of work do you do at Chessable?
Yeah, good question. I actually, now that I look at the date, I had my 5-year anniversary at
Wow.
Chessable 2 weeks ago, but I completely forgot about it.
And you're young. That's crazy.
Yes, yes. 5 years ago, I worked at New Chess, and I met the CEO of Chessable. Back then, it was David Kremley, and he asked me if I could take a New Chess book and transform it so it would work on the Chessable platform. So for the first 2 years, I did that kind of stuff, and then later I took on a more managing position and worked with authors to create original content for Chessable. So I talked to basically any author that we have and sign a deal with them to make Chessable courses and help grow the platform. And these days, I do all sorts of things. I do a little bit of content, a little bit of finance and data and marketing. I'm in all teams at the same time.
Okay, excellent. And obviously, again, regular listeners know Chessable is a sponsor of Perpetual Chess, but I genuinely I mean, obviously I'm a fan of the product. I've got my streak back now that I turned my book in. I'm up to like
Look at that.
26 days. But
Wow, more than me.
but one of the things that I like about Chessable is that obviously you have like super GMs like Anish Giri and Magnus and so many others creating courses. But some of their best sellers, as I talked about when Gear was on, are by community club players like Crafty Raft with the Checkmate Patterns Manual and Benedictine, who's been on the pod. So obviously it's nice that like regular players, if they have a creative idea, can actually make some money providing a service. So what do people need to know about the contest, Maaike?
Yeah, I think you really nailed it. It's not about being a titled player. You don't have to be a GM. It's for everyone. I strongly believe that everyone has some chess knowledge to share. Maybe you have your favorite crazy gambit that you always play and you score well on your club and you want to share it with us, or maybe you want to write about strategy, endgame, you name it. I think everyone can create content. I'm not a grandmaster myself either, and I published 2 courses and they were well received. So I really believe it's for everyone. And there's many success stories. You mentioned a few already. We even had authors who are not 18 yet create content. 2 years ago, when we did the first contest, we had a player from Vietnam who had about 1900 and published his own opening repertoire. And now he just crossed 2400. So wow. I'm hoping that his creation of the course also helped him improve. I definitely can tell that when I made my courses, I learned so much and it helped my chess so much. I know I'm not at my peak rating, but it definitely did help me. So what you need to know is that it launches on August 16th. So hopefully around the time you're listening to this, and runs until the end of November. So you have about 3 months, a little more, to come up with your course and submit it. And it could be literally about anything. It could be small, it could be big. It could be aimed at grandmasters. It could be aimed at beginning players who barely know how the pieces move. You can write about everything and you can win a great prize. I think that is one of the things people might want to know about. There is some incentive. I think there's a prize fund of about 10K. So there's quite some prize money. And it is not only in English. I know you mentioned that the majority of listeners is from the States. However, if you're German or Spanish, there's a separate contest for you. You can write a course in those languages and win as well. So 3 different contests in 3 different languages going on at the same time.
Wow, that's awesome. And what, like, if someone's listening and they say, okay, that sounds great, but I have no idea where to begin, like with actually making the course, what would you tell them?
So this is a very funny story. If you go to Chessable and there's a button in the toolbar saying tools and then create course, and that is the starting point. And then there is a video, and the video is made by me. And it was told that there would be a voiceover later so that it would sound better, but we never got to that. So it's still me who didn't do my very best because I thought someone would do a better job later. But there's a video of me explaining the technical aspects of how do you create variations in your course and how do you add text and how do you make it look nice. So there will be guides and videos explaining all of the technical details. I would recommend that you create all the material outside of Chessable. So in your favorite platform, whether it's chess.com, Lichess, Chessbase, you can create a PGN there and upload it to Chessable. So you can start with creating the material outside of the platform and then upload it later. That is usually easiest.
Okay. And what sort of courses have you found to resonate the most when it's club players rather than titled players making them?
That is a really good question. I remember that we have a very successful author whose name is Kan Kabadai from Turkey, I believe, and he participated in a previous contest and he didn't win. I think he wasn't even part of the finalists, but we did publish his course and then he published 4 more, and now he is one of our best-selling authors because it really resonated with people. And he had this kind of niche, and the series is called The Art of, and it's the art of exchanging pieces, the art of multi-purpose moves. It's a very specific skill, a strategic skill, and people really like that because they're like, hey, I study this and I learn one specific new thing. So it's not as scary that you're like, oh, I need to learn whole chess strategy. Oh, let's just focus on this one thing and try to see if I can apply it to my games. So in that sense, less is more, actually. Maybe not make it overwhelming, but make it appealing to club players by just showing them one skill that they can learn and give them good examples, and then they can try it out. I think people really liked it. And also that it doesn't take too much time to complete, because if it takes you a year to finish, maybe by the halftime, you're already a bit demotivated. Sometimes it's nice to just finish something and see that the end is near.
Yeah, Cam is someone I'm hoping to interview soon, because he's a cognitive scientist too, right?
Yes.
He's like an accomplished improver, cognitive scientist, and got all these hit courses. So yeah, I'd definitely like to get his perspective on chess improvement and everything else at some point. And
For sure.
let me ask you, Maaike. So when the courses are turned in, say you decide to enter the contest, you turn it in. So is it only the winners that are published, or what happens? I know there are prizes. What happens to the entrants who don't win?
So we actually review all courses, and then we select some finalists, and then we definitely will publish all finalists. However, over time, we also try to publish as many courses that were submitted. So you don't have to win. You don't even have to be a finalist. We can still publish your course, provided that we liked it, of course. If your course is one variation and that's it, then we cannot promise that we will publish it. However, I think over time, from the first 2 contests, we have published at least 50 courses total, I would say. So there's a very high chance that you will be published and that you will be able to get some name recognition, maybe make some money and get something out of it. So it's really for everyone. And even if you don't win, don't despair. We will still publish it, hopefully.
Okay. And this information may be proprietary. Maybe you can't reveal.
Oh boy,
but...
look forward to this.
Well, I'm impressed that you know what proprietary means, being that English is not your native language, but you're Dutch, so I should have known that your English would be perfect. But so if a community course sells really well, some of the ones I alluded to, like Crafty Raft or like Cam's course, what would be a good number of sales for a community course?
Oh boy, that really depends per course. If a course is bigger, it's often more expensive, so then you can often make more money. But we definitely had courses that can make thousands of dollars, even as a community author without video. Sometimes thousands of dollars. If you're really lucky, maybe more than 10,000. If you're not so lucky, maybe less than that. But it's very rare that something really flops. Over time, it keeps selling. That's the beauty of it. Once it's published, you don't have to do anything, and every month you'll get some payment in your bank account. It's like the best thing ever. yeah,
to get that recurring revenue. Excellent. Well, so I feel like we've covered the broad strokes of what people should know. I want to ask you some other Chessable related questions, but
of course.
But is there anything else about the contest and I'll put all the details in the show notes, all the links that anyone might need. But is there any other information you would like to convey for anyone thinking of entering?
I just remember that I didn't mention that if you win, your course will also get a video presentation by a famous author. And this year, Maurice Ashley will present your course.
All right.
So that's pretty cool. So I just remembered, I should tell people that.
Yeah. Do you know, so Maurice, his Secrets of Chess Geometry course is great. Do you know, is he working on anything else? Or
He is, yes. He's working on more than one new course, if I'm allowed to reveal that. So there's definitely more coming from Maurice. He's awesome to work with. And his geometry course is super cool. Very original and very popular as well. So check that one out if you haven't yet.
Okay, sounds good. So on the topic of Chessable author, friend of the pod, Han Shu, who I'm guessing you probably knew his daughters.
I know one of his daughters, yeah. Okay. I'm in a foundation in the Netherlands called Chess Queens, and we promote chess for girls and women. And she was also a part of the foundation.
Okay, yeah, I figured as much. Longtime listeners will know that Han, in addition to being a trainer here in the U.S., is from the Netherlands, and his daughters were scholastic champions. Now working in the corporate world in their 20s, but quite accomplished both in chess and outside of chess. And Han always is keeping up with Chessable as an author and user. And so his first question was, if you look at Chessable users who've been successful in improving their chess, can you highlight some best practices and how they use Chessable?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. Of course, this is highly individual. I would say if you're rated 1,000, probably you have different ways to use the platform than if you're 2,400. So it will be hard to give a universal answer for everyone, but I'll do my best. I think one thing you should do is personalize the study settings. If you're in a Chessable course, on the right, there's a lot of settings. And I would say most people have never looked at them in their life, but they can make your studying a lot easier or more fun. For example, maybe you don't want to study the whole variation. It goes too deep for you. Then you can cut it off a bit earlier. Or maybe you don't want to repeat the line 3 times. If you are a strong player, I often heard they just want to repeat it once and then move on. Vieco actually doesn't study the openings in the way that they show you the move and then you repeat it, but he does it as a quiz. So basically, you have to guess the move everywhere and think about the position as if you were at the board. And he really likes that. I haven't tested it out myself, but that might help you remember or think about the positions more. So there's a lot of things you can play around with that I think could really help your studying, make it either more easy or more fun, or help you focus on the things that are important to you. It's very easy to just mindlessly review lines that you already know and score a lot of points. And then you think, wow, I really did a lot today. I scored 10,000 points. I must have learned so much, but maybe you were just learning things you already knew. Maybe that wasn't the best use of your time. Maybe you could have studied something else instead that you didn't already know so well. So I would focus not only on points, but actual think to yourself, did I learn anything today? And if I didn't, maybe learn a new line instead of reviewing. Although don't let the reviews pile up too much because it might overwhelm you and you will never want to review again.
Right. We've all been there.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And Todd Bryant, who was on the pod recently, and I'm going to interview again at some point in the future, who in the past has done some programming for Chessable, now works on the chess.com side, but he's a Chessable super user and shared some tips with me that are included in my forthcoming book, Perpetual Chess Improvement, available November 1st. And he said basically some of the same stuff. He's similar to Vieco. He likes to just even when you're learning it, to be quizzed. And I think that a major theme of what you highlighted and what I've observed is Chessable is sometimes criticized for encouraging, air quotes, mindlessly parroting opening lines. And I think that would be a valid criticism if people didn't have agency in how they use the course. And people do have agency. So you have to resist the temptation to just mindlessly repeat.
Yeah.
And when you don't understand a move, you have to try to figure out why. It's, Chessable is just a tool and you get out of it what you put into it. So as with everything in chess, you always active is better than passive, at the end of the day.
Of course. Yeah.
And that applies to Chessable and it applies to any other method of chess learning that you're attempting. My little 2 cents.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I just thought of one other thing. There was also a blog post by Alex Crompton, and he detailed how he put his settings and how it helped him to get from 0 to 1,500.
Yeah.
So if you're a beginner player, then I would recommend to check that out and maybe you'll learn something.
Yeah, I'll link to that. And I interviewed Alex off the back of that blog
really?
post. Yeah.
I didn't even know that. Oh, well, then
he's a fascinating guy.
Check that out too.
The audio turned out not ideal on that one, but it's a really good interview. And so I'll link to both the blog post and the interview. I think for players below 1,500, Alex is very insightful and worth keeping up with. Okay, and Han's second question was, the acquisition of Chessable by chess.com was finalized more than 7 months ago. what has changed at the company, what has been a positive change, and what has been a negative effect of the takeover?
Yeah, this is a really good question. Definitely before the acquisition, we knew that it was coming, and I was a bit worried, oh, what if things would change? But actually, not that much has changed. That might be surprising, but our day-to-day is very much the same. Our processes are very similar. One thing that changed, and maybe I can call this negative, is that some of my colleagues are now working for chess.com instead. There has been some integration with departments, so I have to miss some of my colleagues.
Right.
So for me personally, that might be negative. But overall, it helps to make the companies more efficient, of course. So I can hardly say it's a negative impact. One very positive thing would be for sure that chess.com has a much bigger scale. They have, I think, 100 times more users than Chessable. So by promoting Chessable to some of their members, we have gotten in a lot of new members for Chessable, and that is very positive for us. And it has resulted in that we are going to do more courses aimed at beginning players, because the audience we got from that is in general a bit lower level than the existing Chessable audience. So you can expect more content aimed at lower level players. We already have published some more repertoires aimed at beginning players, and they have been well received. For example, we published one by Ben Feingold, who was also a Chess.com streamer, of course. So we also got some new authors thanks to their connections. So that has also been a positive thing for us. But I would be happy to say some negative things, but actually not that much change. We just got some more users and opportunities, but the rest has been kind of the same. So not that much negativity. Sorry to report something boring.
Right. Okay, well, that's good to hear. And the point you highlight about so many newer chess players coming into sort of the Chessable ecosystem, I think that has an important lesson, bringing it back to the contest, because it means if you're rated 1600, but you feel like you have a firm grip on something that someone rated 900 should really know, and you target your course around a particular theme like that, like there's runway there, so
absolutely. For sure. Like when I learned chess, I had a trainer at the club, and he was about 1600 rating, but I learned so much from him. You don't have to be a grandmaster to teach something to other chess players. So I think it's really important to realize that everyone has something valuable to share. Everyone in our community can contribute.
Excellent. And Maaike, on the topic of chess learning, in reviewing your bio, I saw that you, being from the Netherlands, are a product of, or at least used extensively, the chess step system, which comes up periodically here on the pod. The aforementioned Hans Schut is a chess steps trainer. And of course, they have series of manuals and workbooks. I'm just going to give a quick overview. I know you know this stuff, but basically 6 different levels that teach you from how the pieces move up to approximately the 2200 level, at least in theory. And they're very reasonably priced, just give you book after book. There's not a lot of exposition of how to do everything, especially if you're trying to do it on your own, but the puzzles themselves are amazingly curated. So as someone who became, a top youth player, a titled player, like through that system, through using that system, among other things, of course, I would just love to hear your reflections on it.
Yeah, I think it's really well designed, especially for tactics. For strategical concepts, it does come up in the later books. But I think the tactical themes are really, really well done. I remember that there are youth Grand Prix. So that's like the area where I lived in. A few Sundays a year, there would be local competitions where you play against approximately the same level kids. And every single opponent before the game would ask you, which step are you in? And literally every single opponent. And then if you say, I'm in step 2, and they were like, oh, I'm in step 3. And they would feel so good about themselves. And then you would beat them. that would be the best part, of course.
Right.
So it's so ingrained in Dutch culture. It's crazy. At every chess club, the teachers would have a once a week lesson, and they would use the step method for that. So the teacher does have the manual, so then they can also teach it, so you don't have to self-study. So I never actually read the manuals. I only heard from the teachers, and then I did the exercises at home, and I loved it so much that I really gamified it. When it was a bit better, I would go through the lower steps, and then I would try to solve the whole book in one day, and then time it, and then try to beat my siblings and beat their time. We were really competitive.
Huh.
So I went through all the books multiple times, and I would consider myself a tactical player. So I think it really helped drill the tactical patterns in my brain. So I think it helped me get quite far, maybe to 1900 level. After that, maybe you'll want to study some other things. But I think you can become a very serious club player with the methods. And by, of course, playing. I think if you don't play and practice in your real games, then it can only get you so far, but it will definitely help.
Okay. Yeah. And for listeners who heard my interview with Chessable author and club player Matthew Ball, he, even as an adult, was doing and repeating the steps method. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask you I mean, you just alluded to it, but like, so you didn't just do the puzzles once, you would repeat them.
Yes.
And would you like finish one book and then do the same book again, or would you come back to it later?
Usually a bit later. So for every step, there is the regular workbook, but there's also the extra and the plus. And I would always do all of them before moving on to the next step.
Yeah.
So most of my peers didn't. And then at the end of the year, you always had an exam for the step. And then they would sometimes fail, but I would usually get good grades because I did all of the 3 workbooks. So I would recommend doing all of them, that they do give some extra value. And what you said is very true. It's not just for kids. I just studied it as a kid, but there's nothing childish about it. In fact, the exercise books have no text. So there's really nothing that makes it for adults or children. It's really just focus on the exercises. So don't be discouraged if you think, oh, that's only for children. No, I think it's for everyone.
Yeah, if anything, the opposite. Like at the very beginner level, they have the ones called stepping stones that are designed for kids. And those are nice because they have some cartoons and they have bigger diagrams, and they deign to actually put I think they put the letters and numbers, the coordinates on the board, which they are pedagogically opposed to, much to my dismay. I find it kind of annoying that they don't put the coordinates on the regular books. But anyway, I think they're a fantastic tool for any chess parents listening. If you just want to like give your kids a book and know that they're using their chess time productively, I think the regular books are a good tool for that. But if anything, they could be dressed up a little more for kids. In my especially beyond the stepping stones ones.
For sure. Yeah, maybe it's a bit dry sometimes. Although some pages, maybe sometimes they couldn't find 12 exercises. There are 12 exercises per page. So then there is a cartoon instead of an exercise.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, it is. Okay, well, one other topic I wanted to talk about with you, Maaike, was you're playing in the Olympics. Chess
Olympiad. Not every year, but
yeah, but
I have played
more than I have. So
that's true.
So which one did you play in, and how was that experience?
I played in 2016 in Baku, Azerbaijan. So it's the same city where the current World Cup is being held. And I thought it was very unique. First of all, it's not a country that you just normally visit, I would say. It's not the first on my list, nor that close. So that was quite unique. And just having all the players there that you're normally watching online and looking up to, they would be standing next to you at the hotel. And if you're lucky, they'd be wearing slippers or sweatpants instead of the usual suits, right? So it would be such a weird feeling. Like, I remember we were at the buffet, and I think a girl from maybe Cuba, she couldn't reach the buffet and put in soup. And then Kramnik came, he's really tall, of course, and then Kramnik poured her soup. I was like, oh my God, what did I just see? So it was a really unique experience. I didn't play so well, but I really, really enjoyed the memories from the event.
Yeah, do you feel like, so I feel like I might have a similar issue. Like, do you feel like you were a bit starstruck? Do you think that the atmosphere
Perhaps
contributed to your having a subpar tournament?
Yeah, perhaps. I also I was the board 5 player, so I was the reserve board. So the rest of the team was also better than me. So since I didn't do so well, I also didn't play that many games because I was the weakest player. But it was quite nice because I did get the chance against some strong countries. I got to play some 2400 players. But they ultimately beat me. I only won against the 2 lower rated players, and the other games against the very strong teams, I lost, sadly.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was really cool to play against them. Yeah, just to be part of a team to represent your country. It's a big honor, of course, to be selected to represent the Netherlands. So hopefully one day I can return and do better.
Yeah. I mean, a once in a lifetime opportunity already,
Yeah.
but yeah, might as well go for more, which brings us
Yeah.
back, Maaike, to the always contentious or possibly dreaded topic of, okay, if you were going, and I'm not saying you should,
Oh.
we've all got to make decisions about like how we spend our time, and sometimes work and personal life need to take precedence over chess. But if you were to crack the books and say, all right, I'm gonna get back to serious training, what would you do at this stage of your chess career?
Oh, that is very interesting. I think I would get a coach for some accountability. So I think a coach cannot do the work for you. You have to put in the work yourself. But if you're thinking, oh, I'm paying for a coach now I have to work, right? So
Yeah.
I think it would help me be a bit more structured because sometimes I get really into it and then I open a book and then, I maybe don't even finish it. It's a bit chaotic. So I think I would try to structure it. I love planning. It's a very boring hobby, but I love planning. So I would probably like block it in my calendar, like 1 hour here and another hour there, and be like really serious about it. And then I probably could make it work. Right now, I didn't decide to do so, but hopefully in a few months. I am planning a new course actually, so I'm hoping that working on that will count as chess studying.
Yeah, I think it
Not
does.
really, but
No,
it's
I mean,
I will pretend it counts.
yeah, I mean, is it an opening course? Can you reveal that info or?
Yeah, I can reveal it. So it's actually a course together with my boyfriend Vyacheslav Nemeth. We're gonna partner up for this one, and it's gonna be sort of opening, sort of strategy. It's gonna be about pawn structures within one e4. So take
Oh,
any
cool.
opening within e4, and then what structures can arise, and what are the plans? How do you handle them? So that will be the topic, and maybe if we like it, we might do a part 2 on d4. But no
Excellent.
promises on that yet.
Okay. Well, I mean, to me, it sounds like a course like that would definitely help your chess because you're just going to be going through a lot of games in order
Yeah.
to find the material.
And I
Um,
played e4 all my life, so hopefully I'll get something that is applicable to my own games.
yeah, for sure. Well, excellent. Well, Maaike, this has been great. And before I let you go,
Mhm.
so we talked about the chess Olympiad. Are there any
Yeah.
other like fondest memories you have from your life in chess? And maybe they're not even from like over the board. Maybe they're from, being at a tournament or something.
Oh, fun chess memories. Oh, there's so many. What comes to mind? When I think of chess memories, I always think of bad ones for some reason. I remember
Yeah.
I think I was 19 and I had to play someone who was 8 years old and he kept kicking me under the
Oh my
table
God.
during the game. It was terrible. And I will never forget that. So I was much higher rated because I was much older. And I was losing, but somehow I managed to turn it around and beat him in the end. But if I lost that game, I would have been devastated forever.
Did you think of telling the tournament director or?
I thought of telling the parents. The parents kept bringing him cookies, which didn't help because
Yeah.
I was very jealous. But they just looked at me angry.
Yeah, often in those situations, I feel like the parents might be the problem. So,
Yeah,
um,
probably.
either they're putting some pressure on the kid or just setting, obviously they're not in some respect they're not setting a
Yeah.
good example. So,
That is very common. I have very fond memories of I had to play a boy around my age. I won't say who it was. We were staying at the same accommodation, and he kept saying, "Oh, I have to play Maaike. I won't have to prepare. I won't have to take it seriously." And then I was beating him, but he refused to resign. and then everyone came looking because it was going to be mate in one, and there are pictures, and then I made him cry because I beat him. I will never forget that. So that is also a fond memory.
Yeah, I like the stories of people getting their comeuppance. We don't
Yeah,
need to
for
we don't need to
sure.
revel in beating people if they're not rude, but if they are rude, then it's a different.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I have had many nice opponents for sure, and some a bit weird, of course. But overall, most games are memorable enough, but mainly for the chess.
Excellent. Okay, well, Maaike, it's been a lot of fun
Yeah.
hearing about your career and about the Create Your Own Chessable course. So again, I'll link to as much information as I have right at the top of the show notes. But if people have specific questions, what should they do?
Yes, they can always reach out to hello@chessable.com or on the Chessable forums. There are usually, for the other two contests, we had a forum post where everyone would ask questions, and usually someone else from the community will answer it for you. Or sometimes we even had collaborations between people that someone said, hey, I want to do a course on this, but I need some help. And that two complete strangers would start working together. It's quite cool, actually.
Oh,
So
cool.
definitely reach out on the forum if you want to some help from the rest of the community, or if you just want your question answered.
Okay, and one other question that just occurred to me
Mhm.
on the Czech Open. So it sounds pretty good. Again, Sunway Sitch is still a higher priority for me in these tournaments that I probably won't go to until my kids are in university, but whatever. But are there any other big Open tournaments in Europe that you've played
Oh,
in that you might recommend? I mean,
I've
or
played
not
in
in Europe, but
many.
I assume they're more likely to be in Europe.
Yes, yes. I have played in the US only once, but that was in San Diego. I played at the rapid events there on
Ah,
Saturday. That
okay.
was quite fun. But I mostly played in Europe, I think. Apologies for the American viewers. I really like the tournament in Barcelona. That's not Sitges, but it's close. That one is at the end of this month. It's called Suns, I think. I have good memories because I scored a WIM norm there. So maybe that's is like blurring my memory. Maybe the event is just okay, but I did well, so
Right,
I liked it. And I played a lot at the Tata Steel amateur events because it's literally 20 kilometers from my house.
right.
So I feel obliged to play there.
Makes sense.
And I like the London FIDE Open, but I'm not sure if it still exists. But when I played there, they also had the London Chess Classic with it. So then Caruana, if you were the security would like check Caruana just as much as they would check you because they didn't care who it was. They would just check you full body scan. So that was kind of cool.
Wow. Okay. All right. A lot of places to get to, but thank you for the
Yeah, I
recommendation.
think almost every country has a fun event. There are some in the Netherlands, there are some in Belgium, so close to my house, you can play anywhere. Um, I am in Croatia often. I hear there are some good tournaments there too, also cheaper. So depending on if you want to go to the sun, go to Spain or Croatia. If you want very serious chess, then maybe London or Netherlands.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Sounds good, Maaike. Well, thanks for sharing all of your experiences, and it's been great to chat.
Yeah, it was fun talking to you. I hope people enjoyed it who listened.
I hope so. I trust that they will have. All right. Take care, Maaike.
Thank you.